Good afternoon, sir. Yes, hoping that all the participants are here in the meeting. I will give common instructions before we start. I request all the panelists to on their video throughout the session, but to mute your microphone. And when it is your turn, you will unmute and talk. Okay? I'll come once again. All the panelists are requested to on your video throughout the meeting. You can on your videos now. On your video, keep your video on throughout the meeting and mute yourself. When you're requested to talk, you can unmute and speak. This is for the panelists. Are requested to off their video and also mute your microphone throughout the session. To make a query, okay, please raise hand. So we unmute you and you can talk. We unmute you. You don't unmute yourself. This is for all the participants. You don't unmute yourself. When you raise your hand. When we unmute you, you can talk. And then avoid leaving the meeting in between. And do not encourage any other communications, conversations, doing your SMS and all during the session. These are the common instructions I would like to give before we start the program. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Hope I am audible.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Sir,
Sorry, can you repeat, please?
Sir, a little lower.
Can you repeat?
Lower it a little. All the instructions. Okay. All the panelists are requested to on your video throughout the session. Can we see the panelists on their video now? Can the panelists on their video, all the 13 of them? Deepika, Sara, Tulsi, Amruti, Jinal, Taslim, Isobel, Abhinaya, Shweta, Surekha, and Srushtita. Can you on your videos? Please hurry up, girls. It's already 12:45. We need to start. Panelists, you can on your video.
They are there on their video, Susan ma'am.
Good afternoon, Dr. Sharmila.
Is it? Oh.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
No, we are unable to see you. So you can just move the camera down, sir.
So
we are unable to see you, sir. So you can lower your camera a little bit.
No, I'm just keeping on a stand. No? Can you see me?
Not clearly, sir.
Should I? No? How is it okay?
Nancy, are you able to see sir clearly? Yes, sir.
Yes, Susan ma'am. Yes.
Yes, sir. Now it's clear. Okay, I'll repeat the instructions once again. All the panelists are requested to on their video and mute your microphone. When it's your turn, you can unmute and you can talk. And all the participants are requested to off their video and mute their microphones as well. And then to make a query, please raise your hand. We will unmute you before you talk. And then avoid exiting from the meeting in the middle. And also do not engage yourself in other communications like phone calls and other things. Concentrate and be attentive in the meeting. Thank you. Shall we start, Nancy?
Yes, Susan ma'am.
Yes. Before we start, let us look up to God in prayer. I request Dr. Sharmila to lead us in prayer.
Let us pray. Our gracious God and Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for this beautiful afternoon, for the comfort that we have. The house to live, the food to eat is because of your creation, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for this environment that you have provided, that we are able to breathe freely, Lord, this oxygen. Father, we pray and commit this event. We submit into your hands that there wouldn't be any glitches. It would go on smoothly, Lord Father, with a good network. We pray and commit for Anand, sir, and Nancy, Esther, and Susan, and rest of our students during this pandemic period for your protection against each one of us, the loved ones, the dear ones, and the family members too, Lord. We submit and ask, we surrender this time. We ask in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Susan, ma'am, your mic is muted. Your mic is on mute, Susan, ma'am.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, great.
Yes. Okay, let's start. Thank you, Dr. Sharmila. For by him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers, or rulers or authorities. All things were created by him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. Colossians chapter 1, verses 16 and 17. The Eco Watch Club of Bishop Cotton Women's Christian College welcomes all the participants to this panel discussion on impacts of coronavirus pandemic on the environment, as we globally celebrate the World Environment Day 2021. The theme this year is ecosystem restoration. Reimagine, recreate, restore. As this year marks the beginning of the decade on ecosystem restoration, and the global host this year is our neighboring country, that is Pakistan. With the coronavirus outbreak and the people being confined indoors, the Mother Earth seemed to have been benefited slightly. In the absence of human activities, nature is getting time to clean itself and to reclaim its space. It has improved quality and reduced water pollution. With most cities under lockdown, there has been a significant reduction in the carbon emissions, which has restored our ecosystem. As our moderator leads us further into the interesting discussion, I take this opportunity to introduce our judge and the moderator of today's panel discussion. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our judge, Mr. Anand Thirtha, sir. He is an IT professional since 20 years. Alongside, sir is an activist, environmental activist, working on sustainable water solutions, solid waste management solutions, renewable solar energy, and green campuses. Sir is also a part of Hasiru Ratha Trust, which nurtures 1,500 saplings under BBMP limits on daily basis, and this has been happening since 2017. Sir guides students across colleges on importance of democracy, voting, and voter registrations as a member of Bangalore Political Action Committee. We welcome you, sir, to this panel discussion, and we are delighted to have an environmental activist amongst us today for this Environment Day. Welcome you, sir. Next, coming to our moderator. Our moderator, Ms. Nancy Deborah, is a multifaceted, talented, and a knowledgeable person who worked at IBM before joining a teaching profession. Always willing to learn, and she doesn't stop with that. Also generously shares all her learning with everyone. To her students, she's not just a professor, but a true facilitator, counselor, motivator, and guide. I'm sure all her students will surely vouch for this. Her skills are not limited to teaching, but extends to the field of music too. She is a great singer and a musician. And today you're going to see her as a moderator leading this session. You will see a great moderator within her. Welcome, Professor Nancy, for this panel discussion, and over to you now.
Thank you so much, Dr. Susan. Good afternoon and hello, everybody. This is Nancy Deborah, assistant professor from the Department of Botany, and I'm so extremely privileged to be a moderator, the job which I love the most. And I think my students would know very well that I love talking to them and I love talking about environment. And I'm so happy to be part of this wonderful event panel discussion. My sincere thanks to EcoWatch conveners, Mrs. Esther Watson, Dr. Susanna, and Dr. Sharmila Wesley. And I also welcome our judge, Mr. Anand Thirtha, an activist who's working on sustainable water solutions. Great to have you, sir. And my most important wish, and I'm very glad to welcome all our student experts for today's event. I'm happy that they volunteered, and we are all experts in the way that we know whatever amount of information that we are aware of about the environment. So I'm happy to be moderating this session today. Okay, right. Okay, so as rightly pointed out by Susan, Dr. Susan, about the World Environment Day and the theme of this year 2021, that is ecosystem restoration. I just wanted to share a few insights before we could actually begin our conversation and our discussion, so that we understand why are we doing this and why is there is concern about the environment at present. So we are now at a point where we're reaching of no return for the planet. We're facing biodiversity loss, we're facing climate disruption, and we're escalating pollution. And we are very aware that for very too long, humanity has cut down the Earth's forests, polluted its rivers and oceans. So we are ravaging the very ecosystem that underpins our societies. And today, the outcome is we are depriving the food, water, resources that we need to survive. And so evidently, we saw what has happened during pandemic of the present generation, that we are buying oxygen. We're spending money to buy oxygen. So the global outbreak of coronavirus disease, which began in 2019, has affected not just every part of human lives, but also the physical world. So whatsoever the measures that has been taken to control the spread of virus and to slow down the economic activities have definitely got some significant effects on the environment. And that's what I think, I believe, and everybody would vouch for it. We see that there is a lot of positive as well as negative environmental impacts of COVID-19 on environment. So the report of NCBI, according to September 7, 2020, the study from various literature and scientific journals and researchers says that pandemic situation significantly has improved the air quality in different cities across the world. It has reduced greenhouse gases. It has reduced the water pollution, the noise pollution, the pressure on the tourist destination, and thereby it has played a minute role in restoring the ecological system. But on the other side, there's also a lot of negative consequences of COVID-19. One biggest example is the increase of medical waste, the use and disposal of disinfectants, the mask, the gloves, and the burden of untreated waste now, which has become a huge concern. Okay, so there is a threat that, it seems when the economic activities will return back, we don't know what the situation might again turn back into. So there are a lot of possible ways to achieve this long-term environmental goals, and I'm sure we are all aware of the 17 sustainable goals, which was discussed and decided by the UN during the summit in 2015, that the goals to reach by 2030, 17 goals. And I'm very deeply saddened to state the statistical report that India stands 117th place among 195 countries in improving the sustainable goals. That means we haven't done anything for our environment as of now. That's just not about the whole nation, it's individually about the state and every single place. So it becomes a huge concern for us. And so today, the need of the hour is the earth. Our earth, although it is resilient, it really needs our earth. She needs help, a desperate help. And so we all have to join this global decision which UN has launched, decade on ecosystem restoration. For the next 10 years, we will be fighting to restore our ecosystem. And so we are here, and I have a beautiful 13 panelists to discuss about various aspects of environment and how this pandemic, COVID pandemic, has made an impact on these environment. And so let us begin with the introduction of each of our panelists, a very quick introduction. So let's start with first Sureka.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, teachers. Am I audible?
Yes,
Hello?
Sureka. Yes, Sureka.
Yeah, so I am Sureka. I'm very happy to be a part of this. And I will be talking about carbon emissions today.
Nancy ma'am, you're on mute, ma'am.
Srushtita Williams. Sorry, Srushtita Williams.
Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Shrishthita Williams, and I'm from first year of BSc, and I'm also going to be talking about carbon emission.
Thank you. The next we have Deepika.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Deepika Silbi from third year BSc, Bishop Cotton Women's Christian College, and I'll be talking about ecological restoration. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepika. Mirza.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Sheikh Sara Mirza here. I'm from third BSc, and I'll be talking about ecosystem restoration as well.
Tulsi Agarwal.
Good afternoon, respected teachers and my fellow panelists. I'm Tulsi Agarwal from first Bcwcc, and I'm here to discuss how coronavirus being a global pandemic has given the nature a healing time.
Thank you. Welcome, Tulsi. Amruti.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Amruti here. I'm from third year BSc, and I'll be talking about the impacts of COVID pandemic on wildlife.
Thank you. Jinal.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jinal. I'm from first year BCom A section. I'll be talking about wildlife. Thank you.
Okay, Abhinaya.
Good afternoon, all. I'm Abhinaya from second BCom. Basically, an idealistic person who believes that everything turns out well. So, as my topic today, waste management. Thank you.
Good. Welcome, Abhinaya. Shweta.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Shweta, and I'm from second BM, and I'll be talking about the impact of COVID. I'll be talking about the impact of the pandemic on waste management, and I'd like to call myself as a wanderer.
That's nice. Welcome, Shweta. Next, we have Tasleem.
Panelist Tasleem here, wishing you all a very warm good afternoon. I am speaking on habitat. How is habitat being affected due to this pandemic situation? And I hope it goes well. Thank you.
Thank you. Isabel?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Isabel Samuel. I'm doing my Bachelor of Arts, but I really love science. I did science till now. I'll be speaking about the pandemic's impact on habitat of animals and humans. And I would like to say I'm a very positive person. Thank you.
Welcome, Isabel. Thank you. And we have Mifzala.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mifzala Iram from 3rd BSc CBBT, and I'll be talking about the corona impacts on energy.
Thank you, Mifzala. And we have finally Muskan B. Thadani.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Muskan. I'm doing my second year BA in Bishop Cottons, and I will be talking about how the COVID has impacted on waste management, and I'm an activist.
That's nice. That's so nice to hear. Okay, so welcome all the 13 panelists. And I'm very happy and I'm very glad as a student, we are going to represent what we know about the environment and what possible things could be achieved as a student to our level. If not, we are concerned about the global, impact, we can do something from our end. Okay. Let us begin our session. I just have one request to either Dr. Susan or Dr. Sharmila. Ma'am, is there any possibility where you can mute the sound which comes when the participants are entering? I think there is an option for in the meeting option. If it's possible, can you do that?
Just one quick question. How much time each participants will be having?
Sir, 3 to 4 minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yes, Nancy, we'll try to do.
You can find that in meeting options, Susan, ma'am.
Yes, Nancy, I'll try.
Yeah,
Meeting
because
option.
it might disturb when they are talking.
Yes.
Okay, so I have few information for the audience. I think we have couple of audience both from BCom as well as BSc and maybe few BBA students as well. After each panelist speaks, if there is any question that you would want to ask, there's only one chance, only one question per person because we don't have time. You can either put it in the chat box where I will ask the panelist, or you can directly ask the panelist itself. One question for one panelist will be good. Okay, right. So shall we all begin, panelists? Okay, we will first start with carbon emission. Okay, so I would like to say what is the present studies, a few information about the present statistics, and then I would like to put up my question onto it. So my first question would be to Ms. Sureko of 3rd BSc CZBT. Okay, so we saw during the pandemic from 2020 to 2021 that there was about 25% drop in the carbon dioxide emission and 40% nitrogen oxide emission reduced in Italian and a few other European countries. But the statistics says and the study says in India, apart from carbon dioxide emission, the particular matter concentrate has been increasing. Thus, we are not keeping in check with the sustainable development goals as per the report published in the year 2020. I think my point is valid here. We're trying to say while many global countries have managed to reduce the carbon dioxide emission during the pandemic, here in India, we saw that there is an increase of carbon dioxide emission and a particular matter by 2.5%. So and it says about 1.5%, that is 3 million tons of carbon dioxide has been emitted in 2021, which is way higher than 2019, as reported by International Energy Agency. So my question to Sureka, where has India failed? What is the challenge that we are facing in terms of reducing the carbon dioxide emission in spite of the COVID pandemic and in spite of the lockdown? Over to you, Sureka.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So on the global account, there has been a record drop in greenhouse gases largely, especially the carbon emissions. And the drop has been seen very clearly during the pandemic. India has not been able to come forward and show its decrease in it. So the reason why is mostly because of the ignorance of the government to help people, educate people on how you should reduce the carbon emissions by bringing down the industries which are producing lot of coal, which produce steel, cement, etc. So now if the global temperature increases to 1.5%, it can lead to water, food, health crisis and natural disasters. As India is not a very developed country, it is one among the developed countries. It is lacking the education for itself to see environment as an important thing. Instead of that, they have their views on how to improve economy. So the possible reasons for decrease in carbon emissions during the lockdown in other countries could be drastic quarantine measures. In India, there weren't drastic quarantine measures. There were these measures were put forth by the government, but people failed to understand that. There were still meetings, church meetings, there were still temple meetings, there were religious things, and unnecessary crowding of people. And this was not made right by the people of India. The other thing is the manufacture slowdown. Even though in other countries, the manufacture was slowed down to a very efficient rate, in India it was not done because of the crisis of economy. They always thought that reducing anything will be a disadvantage to economy. So there was a significant decrease in emissions from land transport and air transport as well. But on a positive note, India has also reduced its carbon emissions. I will be showing you a small PPT on that.
Can you make it quick, Sureka?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Is it seen, ma'am?
Yes.
So one of the positive impacts was in Delhi, where the smog was seen very clearly. And after the lockdown, that is in 2020, there was a clear view of the sky. So that is one of the reasons that India has been lagging. Only in certain regions India has been coming forward and doing its part. But lack of governance, lack of education to people has led to what India is not able to cope up with the entire global nation. Thank you.
That's all? Right. So I have a question to Ms. Sureka over here. Right, we spoke about, yes, India saw evidently carbon dioxide emission reduce in that, but can it be constant, or say suppose after the lockdown is relieved and we get back to our normal activities, do you still think that India will be able to manage the carbon dioxide emission reduction?
Ma'am, sadly, researchers have said that this is not possible because of the immediate release of the lockdown. People are going to worry more on their economic status, and because of that, industries are going to start growing more. But there are certain measures that we can follow. That is closing of coal-fired power plants, expanding the use of renewable energies, and as normal human beings, we could switch to electrical cars and etc. The pandemic has impacted the environment indirectly, but in small traces, it has affected us positively with the situation, and it is estimated only for a temporary time. So the fear of lifting the lockdown is a big issue right now.
Right. So I agree to it. Okay. So is there any question to Ms. Sureka from the audience side or from the panelist? Okay. Somebody has asked a question, Sureka. How do you think carbon emission can be controlled?
Yeah, so carbon emission can be controlled by possible uses of, like, we should start using renewable energies. Like we all look at, like, BMW car, Audi car and all of that, but all of this has its drawbacks. There are more of coal produced, there are more of emissions released by all of these. So we have to start switching ourselves to a higher technology. It might be expensive, but it is efficient on the long run. So we have to start switching ourselves into those kind of technologies which have lesser carbon emissions and which can protect.
Thank you, Sureka. All that she is trying to say is we should get back to, or we should start using the alternate source of energy. Thank you. Now I welcome our next panelist, Shrushtita Williams of First BSc. Okay, Shrushtita, I have one question, and then you can proceed with what you wanted to talk about carbon dioxide emission. How do you think, as youngsters or as students, you can play a role in this huge crisis? So you can answer this question, and then you can speak on what are your views about carbon dioxide emission during pandemic.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. So, ma'am, as we are the youngsters, we can actually start implementing a positive attitude towards all the environmental friendly things, eco-friendly. We can start being eco-friendly to most of the products in like we can use recycling things, and we can use, instead of using
Yes, Shrushtita, you can go ahead. Your mic is on mute.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So as youngsters, we couldn't change the older generation to use the technology, but as we are youngsters, we know what technology can actually work, and trying to use technology in a good way, like using electric, as Sureka said, using electrical cars, and planting more trees, so that even though if we can't control carbon emission, we can at least reduce the usage, like absorption of carbon emission, which can lead to a positive environment. No, ma'am. So moving forward, I'll be sharing my presentation. Ma'am, is it visible?
Yes, is it? It's visible. Yeah.
So to begin with, the graph of carbon emission has been drastically increasing during decades. But during this lockdown, we can see that there is a decrease in carbon emission. This might be due to sudden implement of lockdown, although we didn't, we didn't think of applying a lockdown, but there is a positive impact because of this lockdown. So according to the World Health Organization, 4.6 million people die every year due to air pollution. This is mainly because of carbon and nitrogen oxide. As ma'am told in the first introduction itself, 40% of nitrogen oxide is increased because of this decreased because of this lockdown. And 23 to 25, according to the data, 23 to 25% of carbon emission have dropped globally just because of decrease in transportation. So if transportation plays a very important role during these days, but I think we can reduce the transportation reasons and stay healthy, so that we can reduce the quality of, we can increase the quality of air pollutants, and without harming the nation. Excuse me. See, we can see here, there is a here, according to, this was the report according to the NASA, where we can see there is an drastic change during the lockdown, which was in April 2019 and April 2020. This was after the lockdown, which had a very big change. This was not actually, sorry. This is not actually planned, but this actually led to a very good rebound towards our nation. Unfortunately, the fall in carbon emission will likely last only as long as this pandemic subsides. But we can reset our thinking and be more eco-friendly. We can definitely have a good and clean environment.
Srishtita, you have another 2 minutes. Sorry, another 20 seconds.
Okay, ma'am. So the whole world does not need to stop to have a eco-friendly environment. We can actually, I'm sorry, 1 second. Yeah, we can actually, the whole world does not need to stop to have a positive environment. We can actually start thinking in a positive way, and a small effort towards our lifestyle can make a big change in the environment. Thank you. So any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes,
Now, yes, rightly said, you people have come up with the statistics of the comparative study from 2019 to 2020, wherein I do agree, comparatively from 19 to 20, there were carbon dioxide emission, which was reduced. But the studies also says from 2020 to 2021, as I rightly pointed out, about 1.4% of carbon dioxide emission has increased in India. This is in 2020 as per the reports of March 2021. So my question is, now last year, I think after the lockdown, immediately people went back to their normal lives, and then things have changed. So do you still think, even after COVID teaching us such a huge lesson, will the people be aware of carbon dioxide emission? Will the people start using alternate use of energy? Would there be any possibility that as a citizen, let's keep the government aside, as a citizen, as you and me, will the people respond to this kind of environmental impact?
Ma'am, unfortunately, we people don't take quick actions until and unless there is an external, cause affecting us. We didn't have the value of life until we knew COVID-19. So yeah, we have to, as we youngsters, have to, aware them that telling that carbon emission nowadays is not playing so, like, it is not, people are not aware so much about carbon emission and the impacts of that causing on health. So what as we youngsters have to do is, we have to educate them, telling about how COVID is not only a reason for lockdown, or only after the, sorry, excuse me.
Yes. Please unmute now. Yeah.
Yes. Only after we face something, we tend to search for solutions. So as youngsters, we have to educate them, ma'am, or else we can't have a positive goal towards our environment.
Okay, that's great. So I have one more question here. Somebody from, Shruti has asked here. So it can be either Srishtita or Sureka. Anybody can answer, since you people are speaking about carbon dioxide emission. Do you think will eco-friendly help to reduce carbon emission during COVID-19? Shruti,
Yes,
your question could have been a little more explanatory, but then if you have understood the question, anybody can answer, either Srishtita or Sureka.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, using eco-friendly products nowadays, like reusable bags, or it is not allowed, because we can touch someone else is touching the things, and again we touch, it might have a problem. So eco-friendly products, and we have to, just dispose it, so that using eco-friendly products is useful, but we have to be good enough to dispose it as soon as we do that.
Okay, right. So thank you, Sureka and Srishtita. We'll move on to our next panelist. We will begin with ecosystem restoration. So I think Deepika, Sheikh Sara Mirza and Tulsi Agarwal will be ready. Okay, so I have a few datas here which will be supporting you people, and we will get to know what's happening. So the reason for this ecosystem restoration concept happened in 2019 on March 1st, when about 65 to 70 nation leaders, when they came together and they decided that it's high time that we need to restore ecosystem, and so we will decide that the next decade, next 10 years, we will be tirelessly working on ecosystem restoration. So it was pioneered by Lina Pol, the Minister of Environment, Ecuador, Salvador. Okay, it generally says that restoration of degraded and destroyed ecosystem as a measure to fight the climate crisis, enhance food security, water supply, and biodiversity. And they have decided to at least by 2030, there should be a restoration of 350 million hectares of degraded land. So that's a huge challenge. So here it involves a lot of political, scientific support, and I feel every country and every nation should be putting into a huge effort. So almost as of now 57 countries have committed to bring in this strategy and this challenge of restoring ecosystem. So I have a question to Deepika. Deepika, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Now, as a student, as a degree or a postgraduate student, there is a huge concern or a huge responsibility, because you are the future generation. We all are the future generation, to take care of our environment. So when it comes to education, how do you think there is a challenge in the field of education to implement such kind of a thing? Say suppose all the students together, maybe there are few students who would want to work on these concerns of environment, but you really need to have a good background of a good education, maybe a degree course itself. So there is also a subject called restoration ecology, but then the factor is very less in India. Okay, it's more predominant in abroad. So where do you think the challenge lies in India, Deepika? How, as an Indian student, you think, because we are all students here, and so I would want to hear and know how, as a student, we can make in some effort from the educational side point of view.
So we can explore or we can expand the a field of our ecological restoration by including or by introducing all those chapters or maybe all those topics which help us to know about the effects like global warming, greenhouse gases, and air pollution, water pollution, all types of pollution. So by introducing all those chapters to a particular subject, like let's say if we introduce all this chapter to the syllabus, like to the core syllabus which we are studying, this might help a student to know about the pollution, or might be about the environment which is already degrading cause of those anthropogenic activities or human activities. We can even introduce these chapters, or even we can educate them by having meetings, or we can also talk to the people by educating them about those topics. And also we can even work on some activities like cleaning the beaches. We can even teach them how to clean beaches and get them a knowledge about water pollution. And we can even give them knowledge about ozone layer depletion, air pollutions like refrigerators, carbon fluorocarbons, CFCs. So
All right, Deepika, yes, that was great, because you spoke on the points, because since we do not have much post-graduation courses when it comes to restoring ecology or anything to do much with environment, but I have a question as a teacher. Probably we are talking here now because we've given an opportunity to talk about the environment, but are you really interested? Now, if I give an opportunity, okay, girls, stop with your whatever courses that you're doing, and if I give an opportunity, I'm opening a course in Bishop Cotton with regards to ecological restoration, will you people be able to join? Or if in that case, say suppose Deepika is interested to join, how do you think you will create an awareness to your friends?
I will create an awareness by telling them about the course, environment, and the advantages of doing that course. Like if there's a course, it's uh, uh, it's mandatory that we gonna learn something about it. We're gonna at least explore the field, which will lead more and more opportunities for the students to go and join and even work for the future purpose. So I will let them know the advantages about joining the courses, and even tell them about our ecosystem, and that's all, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Deepika. I think she was right in most of the places, because considering the fact of our education system and how our because we don't know about the other university, probably in the university that we are studying, to what level that it is and what level that we have reaching. She's tried to answer that to our level, but I hope in the days to come that our Indian government as well introduces a lot of courses, postgraduate courses, in terms of ecological restoration, so that every student who want to do something for the environment can do in detail, knowing the facts and statistics of the world. Okay, so thank you, Deepika. Thank you for your session. Right. So the next I have is Mirza.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, Mirza, I have one question, and answer me that question, and you can point out your views on ecological restoration as well. So, now whatever Deepika spoke was the restoration of human efforts, like human-oriented restoration, and she was right. So we are supposed to do a lot of things. So, what do you think? Will machine-oriented restoration techniques help us, or human oriented restoration help us?
That's an interesting question, ma'am. I feel human oriented restoration is better than machine oriented restoration, because again, if you go back to using machines, it's like using fossil fuels, using lots of energy to make them work. So it's back to ground zero where we are right now because of using machine oriented restoration. I feel like that. And that is my point of view. I think human restoration would be better. I feel there are lots of agreements, new deals coming around. Like, for example, I've heard about the new Green Deal of Europe, which is planning to make Europe is planning to make the continent itself neutral, a climate neutral continent by 2050. So it's like bringing all the eco-friendly things, eco-friendly plans, environmental friendly plans to bring out to make it a healthier place, to breathe a cleaner air, and altogether a very good, healthier life. I feel things like that should be oriented. And one more thing which I've noticed is around 200 CEOs from around the world have signed a contract of science-based targeted, which they aim to divert themselves from the fossil fuel. That is again machine-oriented, anything to divert themselves and go back to use the renewable sources of energy, like non-renewable, like there is solar energy, wind energy. So people are actually going on a eco-friendly human approach, and I think that is better and right to be doing.
Okay, right. That was a very valid point. So, can you suggest us if there's any kind of restoration model that you are aware of? We're all coming from the science background, and might be one or two if there is anything that you know where we can do some effort at the ground level, or as an individual, where we can restore the ecosystem.
Yes, ma'am. So I feel like first I'll begin with me being a student. What we can do is take expert advices from such as you, Nancy ma'am, Sir Anand sir. We can ask them how we can go about it. And I feel like there is a strong hold, there's a strong power in the hands of students to bring about a change. students go on protest to bring about. So I think that we can do. We can make people aware about the seriousness of the situation, and then go about again. Consumption of electricity should be reduced, I feel, because during this pandemic situation, if everything else has reduced, the transport might be everything, but something is increasing on a drastic amount, that is the consumption of electricity. Like many people are working from home now and all. So I think something about that, something should be done about the production of electrical energy in the beginning itself. I think that we can do something to cope up about. And in the Paris Agreement that I had seen, they are planning to reduce it, the global warming, the total amount of global warming from about 2 degrees Celsius, 1.5 degree. And that they are doing is by, if there are some countries who cannot afford all the equipments or materials that is required to go eco-friendly. So some of the richer countries are helping them. So that is, I feel, one of the solutions that we can do, provide them, educate them about it. And then I feel only educating them, only providing people, telling them to do is not enough. I feel there should be a system in which there is a yearly data collected of how much a country is growing on basis of being eco-friendly. So I feel that is one thing. And I feel it needs to be implemented very soon because COVID hasn't done much restoration to ecosystem, I feel. Because talking about China, where the lockdown first began, and it has again closed first in the world. The air pollution levels already in China are back to their pre-COVID levels where they were. So I feel pandemic has kick-started the ecosystem restoration, but it won't be possible to go on this journey unless we try to go ahead about it, bring about it, know the seriousness about it, and sacrifice, like how we are sitting at our homes right now. People like going out, meeting people, but we aren't doing that, knowing the seriousness of COVID, how it might increase the whole virus altogether. So I think that is what we are doing, staying at home, restraining ourselves from going out. So
Thank you,
Mirza.
Thank you,
Yes, ma'am.
Mirza. I
Thank
stand
you,
with her in most of the points. That was right. Thank you so much. And I have a question to Tulsi. Yes, Tulsi, I would want you to agree or disagree with Deepika or Sheikh Sara Mirza. And one more question is, how do you think the indigenous people, the people who live nearby to the forest, or you can say the tribal people, be trained in these ecosystem restoration projects?
Ma'am, I agree with my fellow panelists that the measures that they suggested that we can implement to achieve the goals that we want to. And talking about the indigenous people, I feel that they are the most affected. Whenever a pandemic like situation occurs, we people can manage things, but they are not aware about these things. Like recently about that the incident that happened in Ganga, many bodies were dumped. The people living there near to the water bodies directly take water from that sources. So it could be hazardous to their health. So I feel that proper measures should be taken by the government. So as it will like
Yeah, you can tell you that you say that some sort of an basic education can be given to those indigenous people where they will help in ecological restoration. That's great. Is there any point that you want to add that from your perspective to ecological restoration?
Ma'am, I think that the pandemic obviously did somewhat help to the environment. The air pollution levels have reduced, and but we humans learn nothing. I feel we become complacent again, and the things don't last like that forever.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions to these three panelists who spoke about ecological restoration, either from the audience end or the panelist, other panelists as well? If you have any question with regards to ecological restoration, quickly, you can just ask the question, or we would move on to the next panelist.
I have a question.
Yes, Taslim, go ahead.
I am your co-panelist, Taslim. And my question to these three is, ma'am, you asked them a question, a very simple one, that how can we students play an important role in ecological restoration? So I would like to get an exact answer, ma'am, so that, if they tell that, we can try to implement, just like that, simple one.
Okay, so she's trying to ask, like, I'm sitting at home, okay, and this is my situation. How can I play a part in ecological restoration? Yes. If you have an answer, any three of you can give an answer to it. Okay, if we don't have an answer, I have one easy method I would want to teach you, Taslim. The simple way where you can play a role in restoring ecosystem is seed collection. Today, we are cribbing that the tree is not giving us oxygen and we are dying to purchase oxygen. The least that you can do is start saving the seed collection, and start growing the trees. That you can do. We can talk about soil conservation. That's one method a student can follow. Maybe the place where you're there, if you have a garden or nearby your surrounding area, if there's an empty land, you can do that. And water harvesting, rainwater harvesting, these are some of the ecological restoration that you can do at your level, at the level of student. Did I answer your question, Taslim?
Absolutely, ma'am. I have my point. I'll put it up when my turn comes up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all the panel members of ecological restoration. That was good having you people talk about the main concept and the main theme. Right. So we will move on to the wildlife. And so we have Amruti Prajapati and Janelle L. Kandelwal from First BCom here. And I'm very happy to see that first years have actively participated. Even they haven't met us once in the college or offline, and it's just been online, and it's so encouraging to see that they're willing to participate in all this thing. That's so nice. Okay, so I have a few studies which says there is a misconception or a perception that nature is getting a break from humans during COVID pandemic. And but here there's a huge problem to the rural areas. While we say, the wild animals are, happy, they're coming back to their places, and, they're happy because there's no human intervention, we also see that there are a lot of increased pressure from land grabbing, deforestation, illegal mining, and wildlife poaching, because people have lost their jobs, and many people have returned back to their places from whatever cities that they were working, and there's no source of income. So there's a huge threat to the wildlife. There's an employment loss, there's a pressure on natural resources, there's increased deforestation, there's an excess meat consumption. So I read an article which has brought out a new term in science. I don't know how many of you are aware of this term. It's called anthropos. It means a slowdown of human activity. Okay, so here I have my question to Amruti. What will happen if the human activity slow down to flora and fauna? You can talk both positive, and you can talk what negative aspects could happen to the flora and fauna if there is a slowdown of human activity.
Good afternoon, ma'am. It's very interesting question. It's obvious like humans play a major role when it comes to flora and fauna, whether it's destruction or its positive impact. So as we can see, like environment is not just about planting, foresting, no. It even includes animals, living organisms, herbivores. So everything, all living organisms together make environment. So first and foremost, like whatever it's done, we can't change that. What was done, it's done. So from now we have to, as my fellow panelists said, like we have to educate. But I think educating them, it's not from like their teenager. Mostly now we can introduce about environment, how it's important from basic, like nursery. I think it should be in each class, and there should be a club or any activity, and everyone should encourage them, because I think mostly what happens, we are like, yeah, I have to get a job, and we don't think about rest of the things. And mostly after getting like we are grown up, we don't think about that until and unless there's any critical problem. So what we have to do is like educating them, and most of the students, as we say, we are educating them and they have to participate. But we do know there are some people who don't easily approach. Like, so we have to make them how important it is. And as you said, ma'am, like poaching indoors. So it's because I won't talk about other countries. Yes, globally there is going poaching, but in India, I think some of the reason is for economic people, because of poverty, or they have to earn a lot. What they do, they poach animals and they sell them for many reasons. Because of their leather, they earn a lot. And we have to make them understand it's not good if they do that. Many species has been extinct, and even this can be endangered, and that can totally imbalance our ecosystem. So first, like if humans are not there and there are only wild animals or animals, they will graze and eat other organisms. Herbivores will just go on grazing plants. So that will cause soil erosion, all such things, and there will be fewer plants. And if there are wild animals, herbivores will get killed. So that will totally make imbalance in our tropical level, food chains. So we have to do everything systematically, and there it's obvious, like we do say, yeah, we have to do, but when it comes to act, no one do much. Might be most of the reason might be someone have to do, but they don't feel like how to whom they have to ask this. So these all factors mainly do this thing. And now as like because of pandemic, first thing is wild animals, they live in forests, we know that. But what humans are doing, they are cutting down trees for their own greed. They don't understand, like if we do that, wild animals might come and attack us. So they think of poaching them, and all those things cause a problem. Rather than that, humans can do a thing like instead of cutting trees, they can restore their own space. Like, yeah, after this, they should not go beyond this. This is place for them. So that even those wild animals, if they have their sufficient space, they would not invade in our area. Yes, ma'am. So I think education is most important, and putting that into act and encouraging each and every person. From now, if we act, that would be good, ma'am. Ma'am, you're not audible.
Okay, sorry. So I have another question to you. On one side, when we look at the positive effects of this anthropos and animals, we saw about a few animals which came out of their place, like Asian antelope, which came in the Noida on the streets, and the spotted deer and samba, which came nearby to the Tirupati temple, and an Indian civet, which was found in Kozhikode region. So although these reports are anecdotal, not scientifically proven, that they came out just because there was no human intervention. I have a question now. There are various animals like monkeys who are solely dependent on the foods produced by the human on a tourist attraction. How do you think such challenges can be met? Because ultimately they also need survival of the fittest for monkeys.
Ma'am, I think it's educating humans, and I think humans are greedy. If we don't give a particular reason them to do anything, they won't do. So it's like who needs some financial help or who want to help, we can give them a particular reason, their benefit. we can encourage them and doing like, as you said, monkeys, apes, all those things, they need human attention. And that's the reason. So we can educate them. And during pandemic, there are some studies which say that now even animals are getting infected being in contact with persons. So first they have to take care of all these precaution measures, and they have to be there. So now we see people who work in zoo and all, because of pandemic, even they are staying at home. Instead of making that, like, we do know if we don't take care of those animals, they will invade our area. So we have to educate few people who will take care of their own security precautions without neglecting all those guidelines, and to take care of those organisms. With this, we can even see a panda in China, Hong Kong. It gave birth, went under mating after 10 years because it does not need human interpretations. Like if humans invade their security, they don't breed that easily. So if we see all those aspects, we have to see, observe their behavior, who need much human attention and who don't need it. So if we take that.
Thank you, Amruti. My next next question is to our panelist. I think Tulsi Agarwal. Am I right? Sorry, not Tulsi. Sorry, Jinal. Yeah, Jinal is here. So Jinal, I have a question. Now we saw there was a lockdown, and so even the forest officers or the conservational organization cannot do much to the wildlife. So what do you think is the drawback of pandemic restrictions on the work of conservation?
Yes, ma'am. Just because because of this pandemic, ma'am, as the forest officers and they were not able to pay more attention to the animals and all. So the animals who didn't get enough food or didn't have anything to eat, they came to the villages or the nearby villages. And because of that, people started like getting scared and they tried to harm the animals, which is wrong. And we can say because of the management, they didn't take care of the animals clearly. They didn't track the locations and all clearly, ma'am. So the animals came down. But if this pandemic took place,
Jinal, 1 minute. Jinal, 1 minute. I'm sorry for interrupting you. Is that I am having an issue from your end, or is there any audience who have not muted? Jinal, there's some kind of a disturbance from your end. Okay, go ahead now.
Okay, ma'am, like in before pandemic, if we just imagine, ma'am, there was an amount of 50 people are handling the animals in forest, ma'am. But because of pandemic, many people lost. So from 15, there might be 5 members or 7 members to take care of the animals. Ma'am, they can take turns and take care of the animals. They can make sure that the animals are getting enough food to eat, and because of this, people they didn't come out of the house, and the water was cleaned also, ma'am. So animals and birds and all got clean water, ma'am, to drink. Because that it was like a positive sign, ma'am. But as soon as the pandemic gets over, like all this gets over, ma'am, people will again pollute the water. They will cut down the trees, and the same problem will occur, ma'am. The animals will again come down. They will hurt again the animals. And they will be like, they will think, no, animals are just gonna harm us. They are not up to any good. So we need to kill them to protect ourselves. But it's opposite, ma'am. Animals are scared of us than humans, ma'am. But if we be calm and if we like just see them and try to make them love, we are not here to harm you, but we are going to protect you. Then they might be feel secure, and they will be like, okay, fine. We can also do something. We can convince the animals, or we can do something to send them back to the jungles, ma'am, to send them back to their homes. Ma'am, I read an article, ma'am, about Panna Wildlife National Park, ma'am. In 2008, they bought, there was the tigers there almost went extinct, ma'am. So the management, what did they bought from different national wildlife sanctuaries, some tigers and all, ma'am. So in that one male tiger, what happened was, within a short time, it went missing, ma'am. They couldn't track that animal at all because that tiger went back to the place He was trying to go back to his original place, ma'am, to the way he originally belonged. He just went in that area in a certain direction, ma'am, and it took 5 months, something around 5 months to bring the tiger back, ma'am. So this happened because the management didn't take care of the tiger properly. They didn't track this location properly. The bed which had the GPS bed which was in its neck, it was not working properly, ma'am. But if it was in a proper and nice condition, then the tiger wouldn't be lost, ma'am, for 5 months. So, ma'am, just because of poor management, the animals come down, ma'am. I don't think animals will just simply come down and hurt humans, ma'am.
Yes, I do agree. Yes, we have failed as a government, we have failed as a system, as a citizen to protect the animals, and we have gifted them now even pandemic. It was so saddening to see the tigers and so many animals being affected with COVID. Okay, we will move on to the next topic, and the next panelist we will be talking about waste. If there's any question that the audience would want to ask, please put it in the chat box. At the last, we will ask during Q&A session because we are running out of time. So we'll quickly move on to our next panelist. So we have Abhinaya from BCom and Shweta from BA. Okay. So when it comes to waste, the studies say the quantity of waste has increased across the countries, and I think we are all aware of this. The biggest example is the medical waste that has been accumulated. So intensifying of a single-use product and panic buying of increased production and consumption. And I saw almost all the apartments and people living in the apartment randomly buying these things online. Now I was wondering that this pandemic would teach us a lesson to reduce the consumption of the resources, reduce any sort of a consumption, but it has rather played a divert, it has diverted and it has played a different role in increasing the consumption. So it says that before pandemic, 2 billion people lack access to waste collection, and now it has come up to 3 billion people. And the garbage collection has increased to about 50%. So I have a question to Shweta. Why is sustainable management of medical waste so problematic at present during the pandemic?
Thank you, ma'am. Like as you said, whereas of course the pandemic has had its positive and negatives, and we've talked about most of the positives now. But when it comes to waste management, it's become more of an emergency at this time. And as you said, it's more difficult. A sustainable waste management system is hard now, because the first thing is that, all of these, we've always targeted, to banning and reducing single-use plastics. But then everything now, the PPE kits, the shields, your gloves, the mask, everything is mostly just single-use. And it's possible to recycle them. And it has, a possibility of being contaminated, and it can lead to indirect and secondary transmissions as well. So that is one of the challenges when it comes to segregation during this time. And in certain places, especially hospitals and all of that, I agree medical waste is more in the hospitals, but it's there in households as well. But hospitals do have a system in place. They've been dealing with biomedical waste on a daily basis. It has increased now, but the waste coming from households is in a gray area where does it go to a general waste or medical waste? And when we have to put it under medical waste, there is no system that will take care of it yet. And the government has, even before the pandemic itself, the waste segregation system has not been in place, at least in all areas. I agree in certain areas they are working on it, but in many others they aren't. And another thing is that, for example, in Mumbai, Mumbai's only biomedical waste disposal in the Deonat slums. So during this time, they've been operational 24/7, and because of this, it has led to a thick and sticky smoke in the neighborhood, which is causing other breathing and skin related ailments in the surrounding areas as well. And another thing is that even if you took at the sewage plants, even India doesn't even have a proper sewage water treatment plants in place. And the sewage, of course, it does contain and the waste from the COVID patients will end up in water bodies again, and their effects and the impact is still unknown. We still don't know what happens even in water bodies and otherwise as well on different surfaces. It's still not really clear on how long it stays. And another thing is that even the waste, the rag pickers and all the waste segregation system and the facilities, even the people, even they don't have PPE kits and all of that, and we don't know how safe they are. And they might not be aware like us. At least we have a lot of information and we know how to protect ourselves to a certain level, and we have access to these products. But they might not, and it might lead to risk for those people as well. So yeah.
Right. So Shweta, what do you think should be the major responsibility of citizens towards the waste management?
So as citizens, I agree, like now you can start using more sustainable ways. Instead of single-use plastics, like even when you're getting a parcel or delivery, I know like some are unavoidable, but try to switch to sustainable ways. Use, steel or glassware. And I know cloth masks haven't still proved to be that efficient, but a proper design and a proper coverage can help you. There are websites where you can find a double and triple layered mask, and I know it can't be used in the healthcare system because they're in direct contact for most of the time, and it's really risky. Whereas for us, we're not when at home or generally when you normally step out, you're not always in risk or you're not always in contact. So you can try to use cloth masks as much as possible and wash them more frequently instead. Another thing, even using sanitizers, try to wash your hands with soap and water when you have access to it. When you go out to something, you might not have access to water and soap, so sanitizer is more convenient then. And in terms of waste, try to start a compost bin. I know it's a little hard and you need space and it takes a little effort, but I can tell you that after a certain time, you can understand the ways. You will learn more things, and that even now there are a lot of people who are switching to composting. So if you are at doubt, you have any doubts, you can ask them. So composting is also another good method. At least your wet waste is sorted. And for dry waste as well, you can try to store them longer. As long as you reduce your single-use plastics, your other papers, and the other cardboards that you get, you can store them longer. That's what even the government recommends, that because you can't, put the others at risk. So you store them at home for a certain amount of time, and that way your waste is sorted. It's
right.
Not.
Thank you, Shweta. Thank you so much. And I'm very encouraged, to get so many suggestions and the ways as a student that we can manage coming from the BA background. So there's nothing called any kind of a degree background, because we are all part of the environment, and it is very important for us to take care of the environment. Great. I have a very quick and an easy question to Abhinaya. You can add up points to whatever Shweta has told and your views. I have a very casual question. Now, COVID has taught us a lot of lesson, and everybody were concerned about their own family members, because we've lost quite a lot of people this time in the second wave. And in spite of that, there is still a lot of selfish attitude amongst human beings, not to think about the environment and to consume as much as possible, not even to think that the waste that they are generating is affecting their family itself. What's your thought on this, Abhinaya?
Yes, ma'am, you're right. People are selfish because when I throw a garbage in my neighborhood house and he shouts at me because he's concerned of his own surroundings. He doesn't concern about any other surroundings. Likewise, the waste which is dumped in the corporation, municipality, so people are finding it hard to put it in the right place where the waste are dumped. And during this lockdown, there are some serious consequences on the social and economic front at all levels and throughout the population, or indirectly changing the livelihood standards. The negative consequence of COVID-19, as we know, it increased medical waste and which is hazardous, like disposal of disinfectants, mask and gloves, and the PPE kit, which is made up of plastic, which we dump all these and it clogs in waterways and it worsens the environment. We observe heaps of garbage lying along the roads while passing through the highway. These things need to be properly handled, not only by the government, by people as well. And as a youngster, we should put forward the awareness of reduce, reuse, and recycling to the people who doesn't know about these things. And dumping methods, there are two kinds of dumping methods as now, like landfills and incineration. So landfills involves burying of waste in a common pit, and incineration is a combustion of waste materials into steam, gas, ash, and heat. So during this pandemic time, we mostly involve incineration method because of this medical waste and which is non-biodegradable, and it increases the temperature of earth. It increases and it also worsens the atmosphere and the environment. Ma'am, you're on mute.
Sorry. Okay, sorry. Yeah, Abhinaya, thank you. Yeah, you also have given us a suggestion how, as an individual, that we can, make a part in reducing the waste. So I just want to conclude on this topic. I just saw a few videos, a couple of. Yes.
Add one more thing, like we were talking about solutions, right? I also found this study where they're looking at turning PPE kits into, like, using PPE kits and their feasibility to convert them into biofuel by pyrolysis. So pyrolysis is basically, it's a chemical process where they break down plastic at really high temperatures without oxygen. And the study is still going on. It's still not come to a final stage, but they're still looking at that, which I think is a great thing.
Yes, I think it's a great thing, and I feel, I genuinely feel all youngsters like you people have to be, greatly involved doing some researches. You might be from any sort of, study background, but then you can put in an effort to study all these things. So I was just talking about, how we can reduce this waste. I just watched a couple of videos, about a week back, and I saw a few families who have left their places from the cities and who have gone to out of the city, and have gone to a place where there is where they can live eco-friendly house, and they've constructed literally a house which is made of a mud, and they have used their kitchen waste as a biogas. And why not those are software people who have done that. When they could do, I think it is possible, and I encourage, probably might be we can say, ma'am, our parents wouldn't agree, but that's the importance of education. Your education and your voice has a lot of effect on the globe. So that's nice to know about from Shweta and Abhinaya. Okay, so we will quickly move on. We just have another two topics about habitat and energy, and I would request the audience to kindly have patience. We will wind up in another 15 to 20 minutes. So we now going to discuss about habitat, and so I have Isabel Ruth Samuel from 2nd BA and Taslim from 2nd BCA. So here are a few statistics which says that 23% of Earth's natural habitat could be completely vanished by 2100. The study finds that it could be completely vanished by 2100, and a huge role is played by deforestation and climate change in causing the loss of natural habitat. And it says that there are 18% of loss when it comes to mammals, amphibians, and birds, while we have destroyed the natural habitat. So I have a question to Isabel first. How does conserving of natural habitat influence the presence of flora and fauna on this planet?
Ma'am, can you just repeat the question?
How does conserving of habitat influence the presence of flora and fauna on this planet?
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay, so habitat. So the definition of habitat is the natural environment in which we reside, an organism, any organism, and it could fall under the category of flora or fauna. Okay, so ma'am's question to me was about how we conserve it and that would improve life. So that is the basis of conservation, right? We need to conserve things so that they can thrive. So obviously, yeah. So I'd like to say that COVID is a zootonic disease. So it has come from animals to humans. So I read on a study somewhere that they said increased human activity in forests. Now, I don't know the origins of COVID-19, but some other diseases do come when humans venture too deep into the forest, in the sense when we mine, when we cut down trees and, just extract all the good benefits of the jungle greedily. There is a higher case for transmission of zootonic viruses from animals to humans. So that is one. Right now we're in a pandemic, and I think the first thing people will think, like after saving lives, the next step should be conservation or a prevention of a next pandemic. So we can't say that only a vaccine is going to stop it. So we need to find out any ecological way to do it. So the best way to do it would be, prevent this interaction, this this degradation of the environment by humans. And which will reduce the likelihood of contracting a new virus. So, and we have seen benefits of this. So now that we're all at home, most of us are at home, forest guards and rangers aren't there in, jungles. Tourists aren't there. We have seen so much benefit and loss. I will speak about that too. Benefit in, their daily activity. We've seen animals. So I read somewhere that, so they've conquered new habitats. So fragmentation caused by humans has been stopped because we aren't mining new roads, and they have come back to their original habitats or gone to newer places. And another thing is the species richness has increased in certain areas. So if there were species richness is where there's more of a type of species in a particular area. And this has been studied after a long, in 2020, most studies weren't done. They were done at the end of 2020 when things were easing up all over the world. Okay, and this conservation of habitats is definitely going to impact flora and fauna. But another thing is, if we leave, so I'm not saying we should go into the jungles and forests, but there are people who depend on it, indigenous tribes that live there, where they depend on the forest for survival. So, and apparently, alien species that are not native to a certain land, they started thriving in certain areas and removing the original population from there. And I'm not saying this is not because of human intervention, but we can say it's a possible factor. So obviously we haven't reached any goals on the limits our greed goes to. We just do what we feel. So poaching has increased because there aren't that many forest rangers and guards. So what I can say is, to prevent, we live in nature, to prevent, destruction of habitats, our habitats and animals' habitats, we have to conserve nature.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Isabel. So that's right. We as an individual cannot go into the forest or a jungle and immediately start conserving the habitat. Okay, I have another question related to this. We spoke about the flora and fauna. Now, when it comes to this unnoticed urban lives, now the government has planned about giving 11 million houses for the urban people to move to different places by 2022. See, on that note, there would be a lot of issues. People would move to a different place. There would be new addresses. There's a huge challenge. How do you see about this? Do you think people will cope up with this kind of a situation that the government is giving this alternative?
Okay, so I wanted to speak about that, but it didn't really relate to the question. So we can talk about something familiar. What was the migrant crisis? People who didn't have money here wanted to go back to their original homes, their native towns. There was mass movement that didn't only involve human suffering, that involved environmental suffering too. A large population, so ma'am said, around 11 million houses are to be given for you to move somewhere else. So all this while we've been doing a rural-urban transition, and all of a sudden no one can decide to suddenly go back to rural areas because the burden on the land is going to change. These things take years. That's why it's called a transition period. Sustainable goals have to be sustainable for everyone. Imagine going back to, say, if you come from a native town and it's just a small, sleepy little village, and you go back in a few years and there are so many big houses where people are living, and we will take our urban mentality back with us when we go to rural areas. Just because we go back to a rural area doesn't mean we're going to, become respect nature and not be so greedy. We see that all the time, zoos or recreational parks or forests. Like you see junk everywhere. Mount Everest is the highest dump yard ever. Just because we go to a new place doesn't mean our mentality has to change. And I'm not saying it's a bad idea to make people move out of an urban area, but that's the reason it's an urban area. People come there for commerce and business, and sending them away with that same mentality will do much more harm to the environment and to habitats of animals than more good, according to me.
I think I agree and I stand with you on that. That's great. Okay, my next question is to Taslim. So I have a very casual question, Taslim. Now, The Guardian, the oldest newspaper which has been existing for more than 200 years, it said a report, where the last summit, which was held in the March, where 16 countries promised to put habitat restoration, climate change, and all these post-COVID recovery plans, and they took a pledge that would turn as that would become a turning point to the world. The pledge is about ecological ecosystem restoration. Do you think, or will there really be a turning point to India when it comes to ecosystem restoration? Will our future generation get to hear that India is a developed nation, because we are still continuing to see India as a developing country? Your views on that?
First of all, again, a very good afternoon to the patients audience here, to teachers, Anand sir, and all my co-panelists. This is a really appreciable question, ma'am. I become very sensitive when it comes to these points, so I'll make it short as much as I can. So, as ma'am said, there was a recent summit. Let us keep, I will come to the point. Let us keep this aside. Firstly, thinking on to, there are certain countries who have taken serious action, and, that has caused a serious impact onto the younger generation. Firstly, the very important country that comes to my mind when it comes to these kind of things is Australia. Have you ever heard that Australia? What they did was, there were many stadiums, and they converted an entire one stadium into a forest kind of place, because they are taking a serious action on ecological conservation, and they're putting up a very serious situation there. And before moving on to this thing, aren't we all forgetting a very famous personality? Ma'am asked a question that saying, as students, what are you all going to do, in ecological restoration part? So, as students, we are forgetting a very major personality, who is Greta Thunberg. She put up a very major important question saying that, what would you do if nature is on fire? Nature is on fire. Do we mind? All we are going to do is post it on social media, pass it on everywhere and all that. But what are you going to do if your house is on fire? What are you going to do if your house is on fire? That's very important, right? That is your habitat. That is your place that you're surviving in. And what are you going to do if your house is on fire? That is the question she asked. She didn't say that don't treat it like nature is on fire and you have to be calm. You know, she asked, what are you going to do if your house is on fire? She said, she asked one more question saying that, you know, I don't worry about myself. I don't care about what happened past. But who are you to destroy my kid's future? She's just 14 years old and she asked this question saying that, who are you to spoil my kid's future? You know, that is a very far thinking. You know, you need to think that because, you know, as students, you know, I was basically a science student till my 12th and then I moved to BCA. So there's like two different fields for me. But, you know, this has made a very broad thinking for me, you know, connecting the dots like environment and, you know, BCA, this is like a totally different field. And from this, I realized that, you know, we students need to take a very serious action. Don't forget that you're studying in this field. You don't have time for things. This is the correct situation, guys. This is lockdown, okay? And here, you're free. You don't know what to do. You're free every day. And you just have online classes to attend. So I have one simple question to the audience, to the teachers and all the panelists present here. I'll give you 3 options and I want you to put it on the chat box. What are you going to do during this situation? So my 3 options for you are, as ma'am said, are you going to collect the seeds during this situation? Are you going to educate people on social media? Or are you going to grow a beautiful garden nearby your place? So these are the 3 options. I repeat, are you going to collect seeds? First. Second, are you going to put it on social media, educating people what they should do regarding, you know, conservation of nature? Option 3, are you going to grow a beautiful garden? I know you all must be thinking that this is really weird asking that, you know, are you going to grow a beautiful garden nearby your place? You know, some things that, you know, you remember always. There was once Nancy ma'am told me during this class 2 years back in our non-core class that there was one lady, you know, she lives in an apartment and, you know, apartment people, you know, they don't have time for, you know, growing gardens, maintaining plants and all that. But there was this one lady who grew garden, like a small garden nearby her window balcony. I remember this clearly because some points touch you really bad. And at that point, I realized, like, you know, what she did was she grew a garden, and impressed by her, the neighbors of her place also started doing that. And this was in news as well. She even told us the location, but I don't remember it exactly. So yeah, this was really impressive.
It's Mumbai, an actress called Dia Mirza.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I remember that this happened, but I didn't remember the person or the location. So yeah, this happened. And why can't we do this? And I want you guys seriously to put up on the chat box, what are you going to do at this time where you're free, where you don't have anything to do? If you're doing mandala and all those creative stuff, you can stop there and do something that can, you know, contribute to nature. This is a topic which is very sensitive to me, so I'm trying to hold back as much as I can, so I don't take much of my time. So yeah, and one more thing which I wanted to say was in the recent summit, as ma'am told, many countries have taken the pledge. And I'm absolutely sure about this point on that India is going to be a developed nation one day. This is a very strong opinion on it, because I feel, you know, as youth, my personal opinion is I have started following many of the paths that I can do as conserving nature. Many things like using copper vessels, you know, planting trees. I personally take tuitions and I've educated my students to do so. And, you know, they have started doing many things, which is really appreciable. I can't share everything to you guys right now, but yeah. So as youth, I've seen, like, you know, people are very much interested in conserving nature because they feel that it is very important. As you heard right now, like a few minutes back, that I said about Greta Thunberg. She's just 14 years old, guys. We are at least 20, 19, 18, but she's just 14 years old, and she asked Donald Trump at his time that, how dare you destroy my kids' future? So we are like very much elder to her, and we should feel really ashamed that if we don't take any action. So I really hope that we also take some action, and we make the future generation proud, saying that we've made India a developed nation together. Thank you, ma'am. Any questions, feel free to ask, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Taslim. Is there once again an information to all the participants and the audience? If there's any question, please put it in the chat box. After the next 2 panelists speaks, we will take up the Q&A session quickly. Thank you, Taslim. And I believe and I hope that we would one day definitely tell that India is a developed nation, and that responsibility lies with the present generation. Until we teach our future how to live sustainably, I don't think that's going to work. I would rather be happy to listen to that phrase change in the textbooks in the days to come in your social studies, that India is a developed nation, Right. So we will move on quickly to the next session, that is the impact of energy on environment. And so we have Mifzala of 3rd BSc and Muskan B. Tadani of 2nd BA. Right. Okay. So this has been a huge challenge. COVID-19 has caused a great challenge, mainly to the energy industries. So we have quite a lot of energy related issues, like some emergency situation, environmental impacts, how to stabilize energy demand, how to recover this energy demand, and what are the kind of lessons that we have learned. So it says, according to April 2020, electricity regeneration has dropped by 9%, fossil energy regeneration has decreased by 28%, nuclear energy has decreased by 14%. Now, however, this statistics is positive, there is also repercussions, right? The repercussions are very, very complicated, because from different types, and the conservation pattern consumption patterns are really, really different in different areas. So we saw a lot of things, a lot of positive things during lockdown, but I saw the energy consumption was equally increasing as well due to the work from home. We've started consuming more of electricity energy, and there's a huge consumption on that note. So about 56.3 respondents, uh, uh, they have decreased the public transport, which is also good. But what is going to happen after the lockdown is lifted up? So my one question first to Mifzala would be, how will the public respond to such situation? While see, so for an example, let me give an example. Now we are so aware of the COVID situation, that we are staying at home, good and fine. The lockdown is going to be lifted. Do you think the public will start using the public transport or the buses, having the situation of COVID like this? At that case, how do you think the sustainable life or the energy consumption, or the reduction of fossil fuels, the petroleum would be reduced? People will still be panic. Are you getting my question, Mifzala?
Yes, ma'am, I'm getting it.
Go ahead with your points on that.
Okay, thank you for the question. Like as ma'am have told, like what would the public do? Actually, what happened, like during the lockdown, there was a less use of commercial demands of electricity and other fossil fuels, which gradually reduced all the like pollution and all. Okay, I do agree with that. But but there was a less, like there was a huge loss for the energy industry related to natural energy resources, like wind energies and solar application energies.
Mifzala, you're on mute. Mifzala, you're on mute.
Okay, ma'am. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay, and since due to the COVID breakdown, it was estimated that nearly 19 energy companies were led to the bankruptcy, whereas the energy sector has been sharply declined to 30%. Like there wasn't so much loss in back a few 30 the wind energy was drastically this thing.
Again, you're on mute.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the main loss was from the natural renewable resources, where the solar energy, like the plants which were used for solar energy, they were usually of large scale basis production, and this has increased to 28% due to the COVID lockdown. And also, whereas the solar installation, the solar application, which that was reduced and was cancelled to 19%, because it was quite expensive compared to the all other energy resources. And there was also a decline in sharp energy chain. And since the commercial demands were reduced, there was more increased in residential demands, like people started work from home. There was more of energy which was being saved in commercial was used to all the residential demands, and people were also
Mifzala, it's mute. It's on mute again.
Okay, am I audible now?
Yes.
Sorry for the inconveniences. And there was this journal of eVoice, which is responsible for all the ups and downs. Like it keeps the news on everything on industrial energy industries. And there was this this thing. Okay, there was this article given that all the turbines, the working of the turbines was stopped for 4.9 gigawatts, which means we have lost like in the space of 6 months, we have lost nearly 4 billion tons of natural energy, which can easily be replaced for fossil fuels, which can cause combustion and all sorts of pollution to the environment. And lastly, it has also brought an impact on human life, where there was this article in UCBI where there was a lot of illegal fuel logging, where we have natural firewood, and there was this lot of illegal logging, and people were really
Mifzala, it's on mute.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
So okay, since the outbreak caused a lot of panic among the people, and
Mifzala, mute. It's mute. It's on mute.
Now, ma'am.
I think somebody is muting even me there.
Ma'am,
Okay,
and
yeah.
I think some people are removing others from the chat too. Like that's not so much of an issue, but I think someone is muting her.
Yeah. So kindly I request the audience not to interrupt. We just another 5 minutes, we'll wind up the session. I'm sorry, Mifzala, you can wind up with your conclusion point. We'll move on to Muskan. Is there anything that you want to tell, Mifzala?
No, ma'am.
Right. Okay. So, Muskan, I have a question. You can add a point to whatever that you wanted to talk. Now, we saw that there was a 14% increase in the electricity energy only at the residential end. So on that note, the energy demands might be increasing in the days to come as well. And even if we have another third wave of COVID and another lockdown, I think people are still not going to be thinking on the part of, reduction in the consumption of energy, or, on the environmental aspects. Rather, they are only panicked about COVID attacking them, and, only about the present situation. So how do you think we can stabilize this energy demand?
Ma'am, so like you said, there's a 14% rise and all of that. So basically, we can stabilize it by, reducing other things like the fossil fuels and the nuclear, the biofuels and all of that. Because as in research, in 2016, the total world energy was 80% from fossil fuels, 10% from biofuels, and 5 from nuclear, and 5 from renewable. Only 18% was used for electricity. But as compared to now in 2021 and 20, when we just hit the pandemic year in 2020, it increased to 58%. So the thing is, people have stopped using many other things, and because of that, there's an increase in the energy in the electricity. So to stabilize it, I think we should just cut down on few things and use measures in where we can reduce it. Like when a lot of them say you should the natural energy is sun. So take in a lot of that, use it as solar energy, and there are so many ways to save energy. Like I'm not getting the point. But the thing is, you can save energy in many ways in your household itself. Like a lot of them are using, they were doing work from home during the pandemic. So they can reduce the usage of electricity at home in, other appliances, and just like when they're using their laptop, they should not on their TV and sit. They can just off that for the time being. Or, many other things, small things which every person or citizen needs to do to conserve or to reduce the usage, in where we can stabilize the use of the energy.
I have one more question, a final question to Muskan. So in Delhi, we see a lot of new methods of using alternative energy. Like they started using this compressed natural gas (CNG) and LPGs for all sort of vehicles. But still, in spite of having a little bit of carbon reduction during 2020, it still was high in Delhi. The carbon dioxide emission was still high. How do you think, why is that the alternative use of energy is not happening in other cities? Or let's not talk about the other cities. When it comes to Bangalore itself, as we are all aware that in the whole world, our city has the highest number of vehicles, two-wheelers. What measures can we take in order to control this excessive use of energy?
Ma'am, so like you said, people need to be aware about the environment. They need to be aware, saying that there's a pandemic going on and you need to conserve energy and, be at home. But in Bangalore, like you said, a lot of people are going out and they're not using public transport. They're using their own transport. So there are more number of vehicles on the street and on the lanes, because they just want to go out, get some fresh air. They want to go take a parcel from a restaurant or anything. But they're not understanding, saying these few things, the small number of things, are affecting largely. So, there should be a spread of awareness around the people, saying that, these are few small things that could change the environment, could reduce the carbon in our environment.
Right, great. Okay, I think we've come to the end of the session. If there's any question from the audience side, you can put it on the chat box or you can ask. Yes, Sheikh Sara Mirza has a question. Mirza, you
Yes,
can
ma'am. No,
ask the
actually,
question to the respective panelist, whoever you want to answer. Ask.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I would like to add on to the point, since you had asked in Delhi, there are many companies going eco-friendly, but it doesn't mean that if you go eco-friendly, there are some huge companies using fossil fuels to work on. So that doesn't stop them, right? So I feel like because of that, it is not stopping. Even though there are many eco-friendly companies emerging out, these companies working on fossil fuels are still going on, and they're going at a very higher rate. Because literally, if we say go on eco-friendly, yet the majority of the population depends on such kinds of products. So what we can do is come up with ideas, like bring out a tax on the carbon dioxide emissions. So if you tax companies based on the amount of carbon dioxide emissions you produce, that could charge them a lot. Knowing the current scenario, how much the carbon dioxide emission is coming out, and then they would come up with plans to reduce the carbon dioxide emissions to pay less. So I think that is one smart way to work on that. And I feel as Muskan had mentioned about, people would keep going on using the private automobiles instead of the public transport. I feel it would be, I feel the main reason would be that people would be more scared now about it. Okay, if I go on a public transport, I might get infected, since corona is a contagious disease. I must not use that, and private automobile would be much safer. So that would lead to more carbon dioxide emission. I just wanted to add on that.
Yes, that's
Thanks so much.
absolutely true. I have one question here, and anybody from the panel of 13 panelists, anybody can answer this. How do you think using of renewable resource and afforestation help to protect environment? A question asked by Shruti. How do you think using of renewable resources and afforestation help to protect environment? Whoever wants to answer can put up your hand, panelist. Taslim want to answer. Yes, Taslim.
Ma'am, this is a very reasonable question that can be answered right now. Like, how can afforestation help? So the answer is, that is the main thing we need right now. See, there is deforestation going on. That is, we need it. Ma'am, we can't stop it. Everything. We can't stop saying that don't cut trees. We can't do that, ma'am, because there are many resources that, that we use in our daily life are dependent on trees. But we can. The other part that we can do is, if there is negative happening, we can add on to positive side, ma'am. If they are cutting trees, we can grow them instead, ma'am. Let them cut, ma'am. Like, if they're cutting, they'll reduce them, ma'am. That is what they can do. They cannot stop doing that, ma'am. All that we can do is we can instead grow. That is afforestation, ma'am. So my answer is absolutely, that can absolutely help in conserving the nature. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Amruti has something to tell. Yes, Amruti.
Ma'am, as they said, like when we switch to ecological things, the thing is like what we use, it will go back to nature. But the plastic, what we are using, it doesn't go back to nature. So that's the main reason what we are using eco-friendly things, we are giving it back to nature, and after a particular period, we will get back. So that's how it helps us. And with this, I would like to add that we should not exploit the things. Like we are saying eco-friendly, but that doesn't mean like, we should stop plastic and start using most of the eco-friendly. To the need we have to use. If we exploit them, then there would be more crisis in the future. Now already we are facing, and then there would be more crisis to this.
Okay. Yes, Sureka wanted to say something. You had raised your hand, Sureka. Is that so? Okay. Yes, Mirza.
Yes, ma'am. I would like to add what Amruti said about it. Exactly. Since this is the era, the situation going on when people are doing online shopping and taking online products. So, what do you think is your product coming in when you do takeouts, when you order for takeouts for deliveries, and what is it coming packaged in? It is coming in packaged in cardboard boxes. So that is what is happening, and when we are completely neglecting going plastic free. And this time when you bring out lots of, you should remember that there is a limit of usage for everything, whether it is non-renewable, renewable. So we need to keep that in mind. During this pandemic situation, I feel there's a drastic over the limit production of cardboard boxes, which is a surprising fact that I had heard that the Amazon forest was restoring. But also there is deforestation in the Amazon basis, all because there's a huge amount of production of cardboard boxes going on. There's a lot of wood and all. So that is also to be kept in mind, to have a limit for usage of everything, whether it is plastic or not. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think if we have no questions from the audience end, we can wind up with the session. Yes, Taslim.
Ma'am, I heard a point from my co-panelist, which was like, I wanted to note it down. So this was from Amruti, ma'am. She said that there's no action, only talk about education on restoring nature or wildlife, ma'am. So this point is like, I want to ask her back, ma'am. Just like ma'am told us, like, what are we doing? Like, I would like to ask, what are your measures that you personally, like a single person, what are the measures that you have taken so that others can learn from you, educate?
Well, I would like to say, when it comes to plants, we don't think much because we don't have to, like, whether they are wild, will they attack? So I think it's better. I have thought of this, and I'm thinking to talk to people who take care of wild animals. So when we come in contact, we know how to take measures, and we can educate other people. So everyone say like afforestation, growing plants, because growing plants, which we know it's easy. We don't have to think like, will it damage us or any attack? But when come to wild animals, we know like they are wild. but we don't know how to communicate there, because it's total different things. So it's better we talk to people who take care of them, forest strangers and all. And then if as we got to know, like there were leopards, some animals, wild animals who came out of their area. So I think rather than killing them, if we know how to calm them or something which can help us, we won't harm them as well as we are not harmed. So it's obvious, it's a nature of any animal or us, we get panic. So rather than getting panic, we have to like understand how it is. And just like that, we won't get. Now we are speaking about this, so we know how it is going. But the people who don't speak about that, it's a major thing that they don't get courage how to face it. And the only ultimate thing come in their mind is just kill them, so I will be saved. So it's better we talk to even those rangers and all, so we will know how to manage that.
So yeah, we are with you in this. If you do anything like that, we are totally with you. Don't forget to call us. And my point on, you said that no action, only talk, is that how we can change is my actions talk. So we can change that to my actions talk. What I am going to do is going to teach people what are they supposed to do. So I think that we should follow that. Whatever we do, example, using copper water bottles to college instead of plastic water bottles. These are the simple things that we can show to people so that they get educated and follow to us. Thank you.
Well, I think it's mostly we do that. Even now we speak, but some of them we still forget. Like
Amruti, you're on mute.
Amruti, you're on mute. Did anybody else mute? Yeah.
It's because like most of the thing, even government is taking some actions, but we, the citizens, now we are getting aware that thing, but there is no improvement because we as a individual or citizen is not implying on those acts or not trying to do on their own part. As I mentioned even earlier, until and unless there is a huge problem, we don't do anything. We take it granted. So rather than taking it granted, we have to know that at a point we will need that. So rather than exploiting it, we have to take care.
Okay, I think we have crossed our time because we have our judge who's been waiting for quite a long time. It's already 2:40, so it'll be better. And it is so great having an interactive panelist here. So I would just like to conclude on this and hand over it to Dr. Susan here. So all the points that we spoke with regards to energy, with regards to waste, restoration, everything is of valid. But the question comes is what we are doing, what you and me are doing. So we know that COVID has directly or indirectly affected not just the human life, but then the environment and the climate as well. So it reminds us how neglected the environmental components and how enforced the human climate induced on climate change has happening. So it is the theme ecosystem restoration by UN is a global call to not just the national leaders, to not just the government, to not just the industries, but every individual citizens. So I would like to conclude here by saying the next 10 years is a huge challenge and the only opportunity for us to protect our environment and survive. With that, I would like to hand over it to Dr. Susan.
Thank you all panelists.
I would like to thank our dear judge, Mr. Anand. I know how busy he is with the BBMP in action too much nowadays. We see the BBMP too much in news. So with all his busy schedule, sir, you have taken time and you have spent not just 1 hour, we request only 1 hour of your time, but you have been so graciously sitting throughout our panel discussion, and it's almost past 2 hours now. Thank you for your gracious presence for this discussion, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for your valuable inputs. And what to say about our moderator. Thank you, Miss Nancy Deborah, for all that you have put in and for making this entire panel discussion to be so interactive and so interesting, and for all the homework that you have done and the many inputs that you have shared with our students. And as Susan was describing or telling the students about the moderator, you have always been a motivator and encourager to everybody. I'm sure all the students here would say that. I can see many of the Mirza shaking her heads, and even during the session, so many of the students, all smiles on their face when Susan had to say so many things about Nancy. Nancy, we are really proud of you. We are so happy to have you to be a part of this EcoWatch Club. Thank you so much, Nancy, from the EcoWatch Club. Yes,
Thank
girls,
you.
you can give a big clap to Nancy, ma'am.
Thank you, Esther ma'am, and thank you, Susan ma'am and Sharmila ma'am, for this opportunity. I love this job of talking and more specifically inspiring students, and interacting with them has been one of my treasure. Thank you, ma'am.
And if only the EcoWatch Club and if only the moderator and the judge was there, this panel discussion wouldn't have been possible. So a big thank you to all the panelists and the participants who've been, the audience who've been a part of this. A big thank you to you for all your valuable inputs, for the way you have prepared. And girls, I must say that no matter what limitations we face, whether we are on campus or whether we are in our homes, in our own comfort zones, with all the technical challenges that we face, I must really appreciate all of you, and as always, BCWCC rocks. Congratulations to you girls. Thank you, and let us continue to be with the spirit of having a sense of responsibility towards our environment, and not just keep it to ourselves, but also to spread to our neighbors, our family members, and our friends. Okay, thank you, girls. Have a great weekend. Thank you. Over to Susan. Susan, if you have to say anything.
To give us this opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all panelists. Thank you all participants for being a wonderful audience here, and wishing you all a happy World Environment Day in advance for tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.